So, of course, I had to address that. I told our church council what had happened, and the response from all the folks in the church council was, how could anybody take things from the church? Another time on a Sunday morning several years ago, I got here about 6:30 on a Sunday morning and come through the door down there close to my office, and almost immediately when I come in, I realized something wasn't right. There were some things scattered in a Sunday school room. And I looked and I found out what they were was they were leftover Christmas cards, that it was after Christmas and they hadn't got picked up. And they'd been ripped open and thrown all over the floor. And a leftover Christmas present had been opened and was scattered on the table. I thought, that's strange. If I find out which kid did it, I'm going to be upset. So I walk into my office and I knew something wasn't right. Some things were missing from my office. Some things that had just been there the day before. So I start through the church, and about the time I get in here, I notice the exit door out back here was wide open. I realized our church had been robbed. So I went and I called for the authorities to come, and an officer came and filed the report and everything that they were to do. And that Sunday at the end of the worship service, I told our congregation, last night this morning, somebody robbed our church. And the response from our congregation, how could anybody rob God? Now when we think about that, maybe as I told those stories, maybe those were for the first time you've heard about those incidents. And you're sitting there thinking, how could anyone do those things? How can anybody take from the church? How can anybody rob God? Now, can you imagine the response of God's people when Almighty God told them, you have robbed me? They said, how? How have we robbed you? 2 weeks ago, we began looking at our faith. As 2017 rolled in and a new year, and a lot of times new year we want to start new things, and we use that at least as our platform to kick off some things we wanted to do anyway. Sometimes we say that January 1, that's diet starting day, or January 1, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be a better dad, I'm going to be a better worker, we have a list of things. Sometimes we use that New Year as a platform for spiritual things as well. I want to serve God more. I want to grow in my faith. I want to live for God like He wants me to. And this year, I'm going to do it. So we began the new year looking at how to renew our faith. And to do that, I told you that I'd come up with 3 very important things. The first one, we saw that to renew our faith, we needed to renew our worship. And as we looked at worship, we saw that worship was not about what we get. It's not about our favorite songs or our favorite passages of Scripture or our favorite length of the sermon. Worship is what we give to God. For us to renew our worship, we had to look at what are we giving to God in worship. Are we giving Him all of ourselves? Then last week we looked at our service. And the service that we give to God, our personal service to God. Well, what are we saw that it wasn't talking about our church service. It was our personal service to God. Are we serving Him? Because if we're not, then we need to renew that so our faith can grow. And I told you, my desire, if I had one thing that as a pastor, I want to say, this is what I want. I would love to see every person in our church grow by leaps and bounds in their faith. So I want to help. I want to help you renew your worship. I want to help you renew your service. But I told you there's 3 things that I believe are very important. And the third is our giving. If we want to see our faith grow, we need to renew our giving. So this morning, we're going to go back to the book of Malachi. And we're going to look at renewing my giving. Now, you have your copy of God's Word. We're going to be reading from Malachi chapter 3. We're going to start at verse 8. I'm going to ask you if you would stand in honor of the reading of God's Word. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8. Will a man rob God? Yea, you have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation, bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Father, thank you for your word. Lord, we want to grow closer to you. We want our faith to be stronger. So, Lord, if there's a problem with our personal giving, show it to us so that we can renew that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please be seated. Now we have to understand something. The people in Malachi's day had become bored with God. You know, I mean, look at it and say, how in the world can you become bored with God? But they'd become bored with God. They'd gotten to the point where in their worship service, they were only half doing it. They were bringing God lame animals and blind animals, because in the Old Testament they brought sacrifices to God. And so they were bringing the blind stuff, the lame stuff, the crippled stuff, and they were thinking, oh, I'll keep the best stuff for myself. You know, if I'm going to have a good flock, if I'm going to have good herds, I need to keep the best stuff. So they were just kind of bringing God the junk, the calls, if you will. So we see their worship was bad. In Malachi's day, the priests had become unfaithful. They didn't care. It was just a job to them, putting in their time, getting it done at the temple, get her done, let's go home. They didn't care what you brought. They just offered it up to God. In Malachi's days, you follow through in chapter 2, you see divorce had become commonplace. It was so easy. God had given some specific guidelines for divorce, and even then he really wasn't in favor of it. But they decided, if marriage don't work out, oh well. The businessmen had become so distracted that they were cheating their customers. They were taking advantage of the widows and the orphans. We find that in the first part of chapter 3. So we see in Malachi's day, all kinds of things were messed up. They'd become bored with God, and their faith was shattered. But then we get to verse 8, and God says, you have robbed me. Now, they might say, well, I know I've been bringing some crippled lambs, and I know I've been doing this, but how in the world do you think I've robbed you, God? And they say that. God says, you've robbed me, and yet you say, how have I robbed you? They were looking at their life, and they were thinking that what they were doing was good enough. And God says, you have robbed me. Now, could you imagine? We've said in 2017, we want to grow stronger in our faith. Each one of us, we want to grow in our faith. We want to live more for God. We want to love more. We want to be more like Jesus. Could you imagine if we're robbing God, why our faith's not growing? But yet, if we go by the principle that God showed to his people in Malachi's day, I believe that there are probably some in today's time who are also robbing God. And we say, God, how have I robbed you? Look what God says. Will a man rob me? Yet you say, how have I robbed you? He says, in your tithes and offerings. As we grow in our faith, one of those things I think that many times has to take place is we must renew our giving. To understand that, the first thing I want you to see is giving affects our faith. Giving affects our faith. Now, I know. I've said the G word, the T word, and the O word. Giving tithes and offerings. So there's a third of our congregation this morning that's already said, no, I'm done. I'm not going to listen to this. And some of you are sitting there thinking, doesn't our pastor ever learn? Every time God leads him to preach anything about giving, somebody gets mad. Somebody says, I'm never coming back. Somebody says, oh, that church wants his money. Doesn't our preacher ever learn? But remember what I told you my desire was? I want to see you grow in your faith. And if you're robbing God, that has to change. So to understand how our giving affects our faith, I think first of all, we need to see types of giving. Well, we need to see types of giving because, here's what we think of when we think of giving. A lot of times we think, giving, that's that time when Pastor Dan prays and four little kids take the offering plate and pass it through and we put something in or we don't and they don't care, they just pass it on. And at the end somebody counts it, puts it in the bank. We don't know what to do with it. That's what we think of as giving. But I want you to see that even right here in our congregation, I'm going to guess there's probably about 5 types of giving. Number one, there's non-giving. There's folks that they come and for whatever reason, they never have given anything to the church. Now this is a big nation, a big land, a big world, and there's a lot of folks sitting in church this morning. And I'm going to guess that sitting in church this morning, there's probably folks somewhere that have never, they've been there week after week after week, and have never given a penny to the church. They just sat there. I remember one Christian movie I watched, in the movie, the guy takes the offering envelope out of the pew, and when he does, he writes his name on it, and then just puts a blank offering envelope, nothing in it. That way everybody around him thought he gave. Somebody's now going, ooh, I got an idea. He wanted everybody to think he wouldn't give a thing. My guess is that there's folks, and maybe there's folks they've never felt the need to. They've never thought that the giving of the tithes and the offerings was for them. Maybe they've never committed to a church. Folks, I know folks, they go from church to church to church to church. First time preacher says something they didn't like or steps on their toes, well, there's another church up the road. They're not going to give to a church like that. They're just jumping from their church hoppers. So a lot of times the non-givers, they're folks that they're not planning to stay in that church anyway. Other times it's folks who, they're getting revenge on the pastor. That pastor preached on worship 2 weeks ago. I thought my worship was fine. Now it'd be better if they'd sing my favorite songs. They'd turn the air conditioner on. They'd be a little quieter. They'd stay a little stiller. But my worship didn't need to change, but he seemed to think it did. I'll show him. For the next 6 years, that offering plate's going to go right by me, and I'm never going to give. Sometimes folks don't give just because they think it's getting revenge on the pastor. For whatever reason, I guess it's even a congregation our size. There's folks here not giving. The second type of giving I find, I call it tipping. Tipping, we know what tipping is. You go to a restaurant, and you get your meal, you pay for your meal, and most of the time we pay more than we should for a meal anyway. But we pay for a meal, and the waitress or the waiter comes, and they serve us, and they refill our drinks, and I'll tell you what, keeping my teacup filled, that's a job. And whenever the meal's over, and we're getting up and we know we can leave the whole mess for someone else, we reach into our pocket and we pull out what we call the tip. Now, I know some of you because I went to eat with some of you. And I know how some of you tip, and we're not going to go there. But you know what tipping is? Tipping is a reward for a service rendered. That waitress does a good job. What do you normally do? Give her a little more. Waitress never did come and fill your teacup. I'll keep my 35 cents to myself. That's tipping. But you know what tipping is? We look at it as church giving. Tipping is that well, I kind of enjoy the church, and the preacher's okay, and some of the people are really nice, so when that offering plate comes by, I'll put my buck or two. I'm going to tip. I'm going to give that. So when it comes to giving, there's the non-giving. There's also the tipping. But the third one I see, I call it the donations. We know what a donation is. Donation is, maybe it's an organization or it's a group or something. We want to support them. Maybe we want them to know we're thinking about them. We want to help them out. They do a good thing. We can say maybe, I don't want to name organizations, but let's say the fire company. I hope I never need the fire company. But if I ever do, I really hope they have the manpower and equipment needed to come to my aid and assistance. So maybe I'll say, I want to give a donation to the fire company. Help them to buy a new light, or help them to buy a new axe, or keep a water hose that don't leak so that if it's my house. A lot of times when we think about giving a church, we make a donation. I think the church is doing a good thing. So every once in a while, I'll just give them a little something, just to help them out. So types of giving, there's the non-giving, there's the tipping, there's the donation. But here in Malachi, he mentions something else. He says your tithes. So the fourth thing is tithing. Now, tithing is a biblical principle. When we find a list in here, he said, "Why, Lord, how have we robbed you?" He said, "In your tithes and your offerings." So we have to say, okay, what is a tithe? If a tithe is a biblical principle, what is it? Where does it come from? In the Old Testament, God established a tithe for his people. Now, the tithe in the Old Testament was 1/10. He told them, 1/10 of the first of your grains, 1/10 of the best of your flocks and herds, that's what you bring to me. 1/10. And he told them, you take the first of the grain, that comes to me. You take the best of the flocks, that comes to me. You set aside 1/10. Now, here's how we look at that sometimes. Because we have human minds. And a lot of times when it comes to the human mind, we want to think, it's mine. I'm giving to God 1/10. That's actually not true. That's actually backwards. It's all God's. He's letting us keep 9/10. So in the Old Testament, it was 1/10, and they were to bring 1/10 to God. So they were to save their grain and whatever, and when they come to the temple, they were to bring that 1/10, and that's what he told them a tithe was. And he said, how are you robbing me? He says, you're robbing me in your tithes. And the tithe was that biblical principle of 1/10. Now, as we study Scripture, we find out that the 10th wasn't the maximum. The 10th was the minimum. That was the base thing. So you could look at it as your Old Testament requirement of what you brought to God. And that 1/10, that was your base requirement. You can bring more if you chose to. But the Old Testament folks were to bring 1/10. That was a tithe. So as we look at giving, we see non-giving, we find tipping, we find donations, we find the biblical principle of tithing. But there's a fifth one, and it's mentioned here in Malachi as well. He said, you rob me of your tithes and your what? Offerings. So the fifth one is our offerings. And when we look at the principle that God gives, you say, okay, he says tithes and offerings. What's the difference? The tithe is that 10th that we give. It's just God's anyway. It's required. They were to do it. The offering was what we give above and beyond that. So for them, because they loved God, because they were calling out to him, because they were worshiping him, they might say, I'm going to give him more. That was their offering. The offering was that where they say, I'm so thankful for the priest here at the tabernacle. I know God has set this, but I want to help them out, so I'm going to give a little extra to the priest. That was that above and beyond. That was the offering. So the offering is that who gives above and beyond what God requires anyway. So to understand when we say tithing affects our faith, we have to start by looking at types of tithing. Now you know what's coming next. We have to see, where do I fit in that list? Because if we're going to look at our faith, we're not looking at the faith of the person next to you. We're not looking at the faith of the church as a whole. We want to renew our faith, so we look at it. Where do I fit in? Now I want you to keep that in mind. Because we think faith tithing or giving affects my faith. Here's the types of. But I know what somebody's going to tell me after church. Pastor Dan, that was in the Old Testament. And Jesus came to give us a new covenant. So then we have to look at New Testament giving. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verses 2 to 4, says this. Upon the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in store as God has prospered him, that there be no gatherings when I come. And when I come, whomsoever you shall approve by your letters, them will I send to bring your liberality into Jerusalem. And if it be meet that I go also, they shall go with me. One of the first ministries that we find in that first century church. In the book of Acts, we see the starting of the church. They were called Christians for the first time. They're loving Jesus. Jesus is rose from the dead. They're on Resurrection Sunday. They're meeting and they're worshiping. And we see one of their first ministries here. Gospel spreading all around the world. People from all over the place is coming to know Jesus. And now, there's a problem. You see, in Jerusalem, a lot of folks would come to know Jesus. But a lot of folks wouldn't. And the ones who came to know Jesus, their families would shun them. You don't make the sacrifices. You don't live the old way. You want to claim this Jesus as your Savior? Get out of my house. You're not working for me. I won't even sell things to you. And folks was hurting. And one of the first ministries that we see of that first century church was the Apostle Paul was collecting an offering. Everywhere he went, he was asking the people to give so that he could take this offering and take it to Jerusalem. And he told them, he says, whoever you choose to go, bless them as they go with that offering. And maybe if it's God's will that I can go, we can go together and take this offering. But as he teaches these New Testament Christians to give, he gives us some principles. So as we looked at that list and we said, I believe I know where I fall in. And maybe God wants to change that. Or maybe we look at that and we see, if I want to grow in my faith, I need to renew my giving. But how do I do it? If we look at this New Testament passage, we find instructions on giving. So I want us to look at instructions on giving in the New Testament using this 1 Corinthians passage. And here we find 5 questions. Number 1, when was their tithe to be given? Now notice what it said. Upon the first day of the week. So their tithe that they're offering, that the believers, when they come together on the first day of the week. What's the first day of the week? Sunday. Why do we meet on Sunday? Because that's when Jesus rose from the dead. That's how the church was established. So when you come together on the first day of the week on Sunday, you lay aside your tithes and your offerings. So it says, when was their tithe? When they come together on Sunday. So the second question, who was to give their tithe? Now that one's a tough one. Or it seems to be for most of us. Who's to give their tithe? The rich. I had Pastor Dan, he's probably got it somewhere. I think he just needs to give a little more. If he'd give more, then he wouldn't even be preaching on Monday today. But notice what that passage says. Upon the first day of the week, let every one of you. So who was the tithe? Everybody in the church. No matter what their social status was, no matter what their wealth status was, no matter, each one was to tithe. Jesus had already given them a picture. You remember the picture where they were giving their money and the little lady gave 2 bites? Wasn't even enough to equal what we would call a penny. But Jesus says she gave the most because she gave everything she had. Jesus already taught us that principle, that everyone, the rich and the poor, were to tithe. When was their tithe to be given? First day of the week. Who was to give their tithe? Every one of them. Number 3, how was their tithe to be given? He tells them, upon the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in store. Now, if we think about it, how many of us structure our giving the way I divided the pie? Now think about it for a moment. We start out with us first. And then the other things, okay, this is the sweet tea fund. And this is the electric bill. And the water bill. And the mortgage or the rent. And gasoline and all the other expenses. And then we look at the rest of the pie. And we go, well, after everything's paid, I have very little to give to Jesus. Paul said, on the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in store. You know what that means? He's telling them that the first piece of the pie has to be our portion of God. And everything else falls in. The first piece of the pie. How was their tithe to be given? By laying it in store. Making sure they had that amount. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 9 says, honor the Lord with all thy substance and with the first fruits of thy increase. God says, lay by him in store so that you have it when I come. The fourth thing Paul taught them was, when was the tithe to be given, who was to give it, how was they to give it, and why are believers to give? Very simple. Because God has prospered them. Notice what Paul says to this New Testament church. He doesn't just tell them, bring your tenth. He tells them they were to give as God has prospered them. We sang songs like, count your many blessings. Name them one by one. You ever stop to think about the blessings God gives to you? He says, Paul says, lay aside and give as God has prospered you. So it takes us to our last question. Where are the believers to give their tithes? That's very simple. At their regular worship services. Where were they to give? At the regular worship services. The place where they went every Sunday. At the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in the store in the way that I've prospered you, so that when I come, you won't have to take up a special offering. God's plan for the church was to finance the church through the tithing. When the electric bill rolls around, you don't have to say, hey, folks, we got an electric bill today, and man, this is a winter month, and it's kind of high, and we're going to take up an offering at the door for the electric bill. He says, let every one of you lay aside and give so that it's there. So when we look at instructions on giving, we say, okay, I want to grow enough. I realize that I'm not where God would have me to be in the types of giving. This is how I give. But it leads me to one last question. Why? Or let me phrase it this way. What is the purpose in giving? Why give anyway? Maybe if I don't give, the preacher will quit quicker. Number one, to meet the needs in God's house. Look at our passage in Malachi. You give, bring all your tithes into the storehouse. The storehouse in that day was the house of God. Bring all your tithes in the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. Why do we give? What's the purpose? To meet the needs of God's house. I'm going to guess that each one of you, if I were to ask you to flip your little paper over and make a list of all the expenses you think a church has, you could probably fill that paper. If you couldn't, just think of the ones you have at home. We have to pay an electric bill just like you do. We have to pay a water bill. We have to pay a sanitation bill. We have to pay for gas. We have to pay for supplies. We have to pay for cleaners. We have to pay for trash bags. We even have to pay a preacher. We have to pay for ministries that we do. I know this goes on and on and on. What's God's plan for financing that? Very simply, he tells his folks, bring their tithes, so that there may be meat in the house of God. You know, whether it's remodeling, whether it's just ministry. What's the purpose? To meet the needs of God's house. I'm going to give you a second. I said there's two. I'm going to give you three. This one's not on your paper. Number two, the purpose is to be blessed by God. Because if you look at the rest of the verse, God says, try me in this, prove me in this, challenge me in this, whatever your translation says. And see if I don't bless you. Now, I want to correct an old hymn that we sang this morning. Because I want to make sure you didn't get the wrong impression from that. We sang showers of blessing. There shall be showers of blessing. Now, I don't know what you think of when I think of a shower, but I think of a light rain. A shower is a drizzle that you would be comfortable being outside in. That's not how God blesses. In Malachi, he challenged the people. He said, prove me in this. You try it and see if it don't work. You bring your tithe to the storehouse, and I will open the windows of heaven. Now, let me give you another Old Testament picture. The only other place I find that phrase in Scripture is in the days of Noah. Noah built the ark, followed God by faith. God brought all the animals, went in, God shut the door. And it says, the fountains of the deep burst forth and tore open the windows of heaven. Now, if you think about it, in 40 days and 40 nights, the entire earth was covered with water. It wasn't a light rain. It was a God washer. God says, challenge me here. Bring your tithe and see if I don't pour out a God washer, a blessing on you. So number one was to meet the needs of God's house. Number two was so that God would bless us. But number three, and this is by far the most important, to put God first in our lives. What's our whole purpose this last 3 weeks? We want to grow in our faith. We want to renew our faith in God. So then why do I give? Because it puts God first. You know what faith is? Very simply, faith is trusting God. Trusting God. We say, Lord, I trust you with my life for all eternity. I've given my life to you for salvation, but I am not trusting you with my checkbook. And we wonder why we're not growing in our faith. Lord, I've trusted you with my soul for all eternity. I believe I'm a born-again believer. But my money's my money. Why do we renew our giving? Because it's trusting God. Say, God, you've said this. And by faith I follow. I will do what you say. You know, there's a lot of areas in our life that it's hard to judge whether we're growing by faith, isn't it? I mean, a lot of times we look back over the years and we can say, boy, I've grown leaps and bounds. But maybe just to look over the last year and say, have I grown? There's a lot of areas of faith, it's hard to tell if we've grown. But you know, when it comes to giving, that's one area that it's easy to tell. Matter of fact, it's probably one of the most simple ways to tell if we're giving or not, or if we're growing in our faith. Because what's the thing that everybody's thinking about this time of year? Taxes. And everyone who has an income coming in, the law requires that you receive a statement saying how much you made, right? Whether it's a 1099 or W-2. So we have a statement about this time of year that says this is what we made. Now, to help us on our taxes, our government also allows us, if we choose to do so, to take our giving to things such as a church and deduct that from our taxes. So with that being in mind, you know what they make the church do? A couple weeks you'll be getting them. Church is to give a statement that says, in 2016, Dan Howard gave this amount. Now, in some areas, it's hard to say or hard to judge whether we're growing in our faith. But you know, when it comes to our giving, it's actually really simple. We take our W-2, lay it beside our church statement. And we say, have we given what God requires? And when we look at it and we go, no, I fell a little short. Then we know why we're not growing in our faith. Now, folks, I'll tell you what I know. I've been preaching for a while now. And as I said, I wasn't born last night. I know that this morning, somebody, I don't know who, but somebody's going to leave here all upset. All that preacher does is ask for our money. And I know that there's probably going to be somebody that leaves and they have no idea what the message was even about. But for the rest of us, this is my desire. I want us to grow in our faith. And maybe to grow, we need to renew our worship. Maybe to grow, we need to renew our personal service to God. And maybe this morning we find that to grow in our faith, we need to take a serious look at our giving. So I left you one last question on the bottom of your paper. Lord, I confess to you that I need to grow in my faith. 3 weeks ago I told you I found 3 very important things. The basis of our faith. The elementary principles, as the Apostle Paul called them. Our worship, our service, and our giving. As you think about what God wants to do in your life, which of those areas does He want you to circle? Underline or mark however you want to. Lord, I confess to you today that for my faith to grow, I need to renew my worship, my service, my giving. Now that you mark that, stick that paper in your Bible, your pocket. Because that was the easy part. Now it's time to do it. We're going to sing a final hymn. As we sing that hymn, I want that to be your opportunity to say yes to God. Maybe you've decided that God wants to renew your worship. As we sing, will you say, God, yes, I give you my worship. Or maybe this morning for you, it's service. Your service to God is lacking. And He wants you to say yes to Him. Or maybe today, you find that it's giving. Will you confess that to God? Turn from that sin and follow Him. You can do that right where you're standing, right as we sing. Or if you want to come and kneel at this altar, just like those folks in Malachi's day, lay it on to God before the altar. Lord, here's what I give to you. Father God, I thank you for your word. Father, I thank you that your word touches our lives. Lord, sometimes we don't like it. But to grow in our faith, we know that we must say yes to you. We must respond to whatever it is you want us to do. However you want us to change. So Lord, I pray that each one of us will do what you've said so that our faith can grow. In Jesus' name we pray.